Welcome everyone, good Erev Shabbos. As we learn the segment known for the Shabbos table, and this is a very special segment because it is the last segment of the year of Tafshin Pei Dalid, as we learn for the Shabbos table for Netzovim, Vayailech, and Motzei Shabbos Slichas, and we take the opportunity now to thank our sponsor who sponsored us throughout the year for this segment, the Rubin family. We wish them from the entire shir, which is listened to all over the world. Sometimes this shir has over 600 viewers on TorahAnytime.com alone. We wish the Rubin family a ksiva v'chasima tova masuka. We learn for their special request that they should be zeicha to a healthy ben zachar, and that they should be granted hatzlacha in ruchnius and in gashmius. Now, as I said, the last week of the year, the Balei Musar say, since there's a rule in Yiddishkeit that akol hoylech achar hachasoin, everything goes according to the finale, they say that we have an opportunity in the last day of the year to correct all the days of that day of the week throughout the year. So this is the last Friday of the year. Erev Shabbos, it's interesting, that Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky is renowned to have said, it's printed in his biography, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky said that in the 30s, there was a challenge in America to keep Shabbos, because people who didn't work on Shabbos would be fired every week. It was a big challenge. He said today, where we have, Baruch Hashem, a lot to do with the work of Nat Lewin and Ramosha Scherer, with anti-discrimination laws, Shabbos observance is greatly protected in the workplace. Today, Rav Yaakov said, the challenge is to keep Erev Shabbos. There are people that rush in right before Shabbos, take a minute shower. There are women that rush and they're late for Hadlakas Neiros. That's not the way to honor the Shabbos. Erev Shabbos deserves a tremendous amount of respect. First of all, there are certain things that a man should try to do. It's a very big thing to taste the Shabbos food, to see if it needs some more salt, some more pepper. Maybe it's too thick, it needs some more water. And the Yerushalmi says that when you do that, toyameo chayim zochu. When you taste it, the blessing is chayim, extra life. That's a very big thing. It is such an important practice to do, to taste the Shabbos food, that in halacha we know that there's one fast day that we fast on Friday. Most fast, if they fall out on Friday, we push it off. But if Asara B'Tevis falls out on Friday, we fast on Friday. So the Mefarshim in Psak say, well, how do we fulfill Toyameh Chayim Zachu? If you can't eat on, it's a fast. So some say that you could taste it and spit it out. But that's not the recommended procedure. The recommended procedure is to make the food Thursday night. Thursday night, since it's still Friday, but the fast didn't start yet, you could fulfill Toyameh Chayim Zachu. I'm just showing you how important Toyameh Chayim Zachu is. Now, there are those people that confuse Toyameh Chayim Zachu, and they think that there's a big inyan to have buffalo wings and poppers and cholent and kugel. The Gemara tells us that there was a family that made a meal Friday afternoon and they were lost. They were wiped out. Because Friday afternoon, we're supposed to not eat much. It's a challenge. The HR challenges us. But Friday afternoon, some people, you got to taste a little cholent, you got to taste, oh, that apple kugel, oh, that potato kugel just smells so good. By the time they're finished, they come to the Friday night meal and they say, I can't eat. The idea of the Friday night meal is that we're supposed to eat l'tei oven. Our mouth should be watering. We should have a real appetite that we should want to eat for Shabbos, l'kavod kedusha Shabbos. That's why the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says that it's a good idea to give the digestion system a rest once a week. And he recommends to skip lunch on Friday. That's why people don't wash after Chatzos on Friday. Because they want to have an appetite for Friday night. That's also a way to behave on Erev Shabbos. There's an Indian on Erev Shabbos to sharpen the knife. Now you'll say, if you have a knife that has serrated edges, why do you need to sharpen it? It cuts the challah fine. But there's an Indian to use Friday night a non-serrated knife. The reason for that is because the knife of the Malach HaMavis is a serrated knife. And therefore, people use a non-serrated knife on Friday night. Now, if you're using a non-serrated knife, you have to sharpen it. So it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that sharpening the knife is a skula for Shalom Bayis. I have to tell you that my Elta Zayda, I'm a direct descendant of the great Imre Eish. Imre Eish, Mayor Ash of Eisenstadt, was what's called the Talmud Chaver of the Chassam Sofer. Not a disciple. He would be very great if he was a disciple. But he was considered a disciple / colleague. He was a very, very great man. And the Likutei Mariach, which is a collection of minhagim that's very well accepted, the Likutei Mariach brings down a story from him that he once took out a knife to sharpen it, and then he said, why am I doing this? I could be learning. Let me give it to my daughter to sharpen. And he gave it to his daughter to sharpen, and he pulled out a Shulchan Aruch from the shelf, opened it up, and it opened to the page, Minig lahashchis es asakin b'erev Shabbos. So he deduced from that you do it yourself. All men should do preparations for Shabbos. For example, it tells us that one of the great Amoraim was Malach Shivuta. He salted the fish. Mitzvah ba yaisim b'shluchai. I make the cholent every Erev Shabbos. Now, another thing that is exciting is any time you sweat in preparation of Shabbos, the Shari Tshuva says it's considered like tears. Tears are very powerful. I believe that that's one of the reasons that we use onions. Shabbos stands for Shabbos B'tzalim Teichel. Now, while one of the reasons you use onions is because an onion has certain onions have 7 rings, so it's like 7-layer cake. But also, people try all kinds of things. How could I cut the onion and not tear? They put the onion in the freezer. But the bottom line is it's good to tear. Tears in preparation of Shabbos. You go into the hot bathroom and you help bathe the children or the grandchildren, and you're sweating. Sweating is like tears. Another thing that we have to be careful on Erev Shabbos is not to get angry. People get angry on Erev Shabbos. I can't find my socks. Why can I never find my socks? Why are we doing everything the last minute? I don't understand. why are you taking a shower now? I always take a shower now. This is not coincidence. The Ben Ish Chai tells us that it was in the 10th hour of Friday that Adam and Chava sinned, and because of that sin, they separated 130 years. From that moment, in the last 2 hours before Shabbos, the Satan was given a power to disrupt the shalom in a home. Rabbi Franz says an amazing rule. He says, before you get upset on Erev Shabbos, you should say to yourself, this is only bothering me because it's Erev Shabbos. It wouldn't be happening otherwise. Another thing for Erev Shabbos is that it's a big inyan for the husband to light the candles before them and put them out to prepare it for his wife. This way, we know that the Shabbos candles stands for Shalom Bayis, and this way the man and the woman both do it together, and it's a big skula for Shalom Bayis. A husband should gently remind his wife, it's time to light. That's what it says, that the husband should say, Hidliku es haneros. Gently. Now, we just said it's the last Erev Shabbos of the year. But it's also the last Shabbos of the year. And everything should be done better. Everything should be done better. We say Kiddush, we realize that we're giving Eidos on the creation of the world. The minhag is, before saying Kiddush, you should do tshuva. And say you regret doing things wrong. Because Eidim do tshuva before they give Eidos, because Al Toshes Rasha Liyos Eid. A Rasha can't give testimony. When saying Kiddush, a person should be mindful of Zecher L'maaseh Bereishis. He's giving Eidos that Hashem created the world. It didn't come about from a big bang. It didn't come about after millions and trillions of years. And also Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, like it says in the second Luchais, that on Shabbos when we rest, we remember that Hashem caused us to rest from the bondage in Egypt. The Satmar Rebbe, Zechatzad Kosh Brachas Chus Yagan Aleinu, Satmar Rebbe says it's very important to remember that second component of Shabbos, of Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. Because if it's only about the creation of the world, then Goyim should also keep Shabbos. Because the world was created for them as well. The second component, Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, makes it uniquely Jewish. Singing of Eishes Chayil is also important. And it should be done with a feeling that what I have in front of me, the repast, the clean house, the set table, is because of the Eishes Chayil. And if you can, you should add a personal comment and reflect upon something during the week to tell your wife, I appreciate. That's the spirit of Eishes Chayil. What makes the Shabbos table special, remember, if we're not careful, Shabbos could be an honor to our stomach. But it's supposed to be an honor to the Shabbos. Singing Zmiris, right? Like, Yom Zemecha Bad Mi Kol Yom, this day is more honored than all other days. Or Baruch Kelel Yain Asher Nosan Menucha. Blessed be the one up high who gives us rest. Or Kari Bainalam V'Yolmaya, that Ka created this world and all worlds. This adds to the spirit of Shabbos. We should remember, Lo Sevaru Eish b'chol moishvei seichem b'yom HaShabbos, which is homiletically interpreted to mean you should not have kindled any fire of wrath and anger on the Shabbos day. Shabbos day should be calm, should be me'ein olam haba. We should remember that we don't talk about things on Shabbos that we can't do on Shabbos. That's the directive of the daber davar. Shelo yeh diburcha shel Shabbos kediburcha shel chol. You should be able to detect from the way that a person is speaking that it's Shabbos. Even a person that's in pain. We say Shabbos imalizik in the merit of not crying out on Shabbos. Refuah krei v'lavei. Refuah will come. We're supposed to create an oasis of calm. We should keep a Shabbos that our descendants will want to have this. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael as a Shabbos. What kind of a Shabbos? La'asoi says a Shabbos l'doraisa. To ensure that this is the kind of Shabbos that our generations will want to keep. We should make sure that we eat 3 meals on Shabbos. The 3 meals on Shabbos, it says, whoever eats 3 meals on Shabbos is Nitzel Megehenim, Mechevle Mashiach, Nitzel Medina Shel Gehenim, from the Milchamas Gog Magog, and Mechevle Mashiach. So we want to eat 3 meals, and we want to try to make sure that our family, our daughters, our wives, eat 3 meals. We should try to learn on Shabbos, because the Ben Ish Chai says that 1 hour of learning on Shabbos equals 1,000 hours during the week. It says in Vayailech, V'zona achrei Elohei nechar ha'aretz. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm afraid that I will pass away and you will be lured, you will be seduced to go after the foreign gods. It's brought down that Rabbeinu Tam wanted to know if there's a remez for Yoshka in the Torah. It says, Leka midei deloy remiza baraisa. There's nothing that's not hinted to in the Torah. And since Yoshka caused so many million peoples to go astray, Rabbeinu Tam asked in a dream, he asked the Balach Halayim, they were able to do this, if there's any hint in the Torah to Yeshu and his mother Miriam. And he was shown in a dream that Elohei Nechar Ha'aretz, which if you compute it, don't write Elokei, it's Elohei. Elohei Nechar Ha'aretz is Gematria 612, which is the exact Gematria of Yeshu Miriam. His mother was Miriam. Yeshu Miriam. Rabbeinu Ephraim, who's the Orishan, who's a master of Gematrias, says that Elohei Nechar is Begematria Yeshu. Elohei Nechar is 316. That's Begematria Yeshu, a foreign god. I told you about a remedy that they bring down. The Torah says, Ki yasischa achicha ben imecha. If you're seduced by your brother, the son of your mother. That's talking about a mesis of madiach. If somebody seduces you to idolatry, he's put to death. But it's very odd. Ki yasischa achicha ben imecha. If you're assisted by your maternal brother, why single out a maternal brother? And not a paternal brother? And not a paternal and maternal brother? So it's a remez. Ki yasischa, you will be seduced by achicha, one of your own, who will claim that he's only ben imecha. He'll claim that there's a virgin birth. That's the reason why it says ben imecha. We told you that when we say it in Aleinu, and on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, when we bow down in Aleinu, we close the Aron Kodesh when we say, Shehem mishtachavim lehevel v'rik, the Goyim bow down to vanity and emptiness, v'rik, is Gematria 316, which is also the Gematria of Yeshu. Talking about Ramazim, it says in this week's parasha, V'anoichi haster aster panai. I will hide my presence. And the Gemara in Chulin, on Daf Kuf Lamed Tes, the Gemara in Chulin says, Esther min ha-Torah minayin. Where do we have a remez to Esther in the Torah? And it quotes this pasuk of Anoichi haster aster panai. And the Daza Canaan Balitaisa says it's a remez to Esther because at the time of the miracle of Purim, there was a Hester Panim. Hashem hid his face. It looked like Haman will eradicate Klal Yisrael. It looked, Hashem's presence was hidden. And Haman got the ring and he made a decree, La Ashmid, La Roigu, La Abed, Es Kol HaYudim. So Esther is Anoichi Haster Aster Pani. That's the way the Daza Canaan learns. V'anias Daita, I would like to suggest another pshat. Because if it's about Hashem's lack of visible presence, that doesn't have to do specifically with Esther. That has to do with all of Klal Yisrael. Rather, I think that the remez of Anoichi Hasta Aster Panai is a remez that Esther would hide her identity. That's why she was called Esther, the hidden one. And she would listen to Mordechai. She did something very dangerous. Achashverosh was a crazy king. He already killed his first wife for a much lesser transgression, for not coming out without clothing in front of the whole world. And here he says, I want to know who your in-laws are, who your people is, and she says no. It was a very dangerous move. But she listened to Mordechai, Ein Esther Magedes es Ama ve'es Moiladeta, kasher, like Mordechai commanded her. But it was a questionable move. We know that the Medrash says, you know why Achashverosh hated the Jews so much? Because he had a dream, multiple dreams, that the next king would be a Jew. So he says, the Jews are going to overthrow me. If he would have known that Esther was a Jewess, he would know that his child from her, Darius II, was a Jew. He wouldn't hate the Jews so much. It would have been better for her to tell. Furthermore, she was a married woman. She was married to Mordechai. She knew he was a Jew hater. Tell him she was a Jew, he wouldn't marry her. She would spare herself. She lived 9 years before the miracle with Achashverosh as a married woman. Tell him you're a Jew. So it says it was a big thing. She listened to her husband, Anoichi Aster Aster. Now Mordechai, I always felt, deduced that she shouldn't tell it from the fact that Hashem gave her a very unusual miracle. Gemara says in Masechtas Megillah that l'kol echad ve'echad nidmasa lo ku'umasai. That she looked to each person like his nationality. That's why Haman never suspected her. Because to Haman she looked like an Amaleki. To a Ethiopian she looked like an Ethiopian. To Achashverosh she looked like a Persian. And Mordechai said, why did Hashem do that? It must be that he wants her to conceal her identity. Pen yesh bochem shoresh poira roish v'lana. Lest there be in you a root of bitterness, of wormwood. In other words, there's a root of rot, of spiritual rot. So the Tzrar Hamar, the great Tzrar Hamar, says that the word shofar is a nitrikin, is a acronym of shoresh, poira, roish, vilana. Because that's the job of the shofar. That we should ferret out from ourselves a root that's causing us to sin. This is what we said on Thursday, for those that listened live on TorahAnytime.com. This is what we said, that you have to look for the siba, for the cause. The shofar reminds us that we have to ferret out what's causing us to. Are we being caused to sin by bad friends? We're learning things from bad friends. They're teaching us wrong ways. Are we reading the wrong things? Do we have secular newspapers in our home? Are we scrolling our phones? Are we drinking? It's causing us to behave poorly. Shirish Peira Rosh Velana. It's interesting that the Tur, explained by the Taz, says that shofar stands for Satan ve'ein pegara. Although there's a Satan, there isn't bad things happening. Because the schus of the shofar is kras Satan. Tears it's ma'arvei ba'Satan. It confuses the Satan. It says, Kikara ve'lecha adavar ma'oid, beficha u'belvavcha lasaisai. Don't think that this is so far away. It's not across the sea. It's not in the heavens. Kikara ve'lecha adavar ma'oid, beficha, in your mouth and in your heart, to do it. Now there is a discussion if the pasuk is referring to the mitzvah of tshuva, or if the pasuk is referring to Torah. In the Tana Debei Eliyahu applied this pasuk to Torah. And it tells us a remarkable story in the Tana Debei Eliyahu. It tells us that Eliyahu was walking and he met a fisherman. And this fisherman never studied Torah. And Eliyahu Hanavi asked him about it. And the fisherman said, how should I study Torah? I never learned it. I never was introduced to it. So Eliyahu says, well, how do you fish? How do you fish? It's an art to fish. So the fisherman told him, I have an innate ability to fish. So Eliyahu said to him, you think you have an innate ability to fish and you don't have an innate ability as a Jew to learn Torah? That which it says, Kikara ve'lecha adavar ma'oid, beficha u'belvavcha lasaisai. This story underscores that nobody should say, I'm not cut out to learn. I didn't have a yeshiva education. It's for that reason that the Malach taught us all, Kol HaTorah Kula, for a Jew, we learned in the mother's womb all of Torah. It's Kara ve'lecha, to recover it. It's Kara ve'lecha adavar ma'oid, beficha u'belvavcha lasaisai. Again, I want to thank our sponsor, Mr. and Mrs. Rubin, for making this share possible throughout the year. And I want to take the opportunity to wish all my viewers and listeners a ksiva v'chasima toiva u'masuka, a year with wonderful health, without any scares, a year of sweet shalom bayis, parnasa berevach u'v'chavod, a year of happiness, a year of atzlach and ruchnius and gashmius, a year where we see shalom for Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael and the Bias Gel Tzedek b'mher v'yameinu.